ensure, is my sound coming across pretty well? Awesome. Well, I'm going to ask that over the next few minutes for you, as you give your attention, to allow these moments to be something of a meditation. And so be conscious of your breathing. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, but endures through every circumstance. Love will last forever. When we come together and read Love is Patient, we may wonder, how patient will we have to be? I feel it. Now, my blood pressure is good, but I feel compelled to track it. My family and I have carried the stress and uncertainty of these times. One urgent headline after another, anxious thoughts that test our faith. And even though when we come together like this, you hear my voice more than anyone's, I am certain that, judging by the nature of our interactions, not one of you is compliant with authoritarianism and its abuses. And it has cost you, in surprising ways maybe. But you can't help it because it's who you've become. You are fighting the good fight. You will finish the race, and you will keep the faith. And now there is in store for you the crown of righteousness, which our beloved, the righteous judge, will award to you on that day. And not only to you, but to all who have longed for his appearing. I know you've got a lot on your mind, but would it kill you to show a little extra grace to that person who got on your last nerve? If you feel confused by someone who double-crossed you and you don't know how to reach a resolution, take it up with God. When you don't see a pathway to healing, take it up with God. Take it up with God. It's not just that people are tired. Many are traumatized. Bills are stacked. Incomes are stalled. The news is relentless. Our bodies keep the score. Racing thoughts, short fuses. All of this can be gut-wrenching, and so many triggers. Just when it appears that we have witnessed all that is possible, another shattering event takes place. Just over a week ago, on Chicago's South Shore, military helicopters filled the night sky. Federal agents stormed a rooftop. Flashbangs split the quiet. Doors broken down. Little children dragged from their beds, some naked, crying out for their mothers. Crying out for their mothers, but instead zip-tied, according to Governor Pritzker, and denied by the DHS. Mothers zip-tied, begging to cover their babies. By dawn, 37 people in custody, 4 children separated from their parents. neighbors whispering prayers behind blinds. And by morning, the nation scrolled past, half awake, moving on. That's the pressure we're living with, the world that we inhabit. And into that world, we read, love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Never loses faith, always hopeful, endures through every circumstance. Wow. But this isn't a call to trust the systems that have broken our trust. South Shore isn't being asked to trust the helicopters. Gaza's aid workers aren't being told to trust the checkpoints that still exist. The undocumented aren't being told to trust ICE. We are being called to never surrender our capacity to believe in goodness. Cynicism is tempting. It feels safer, but it hollows us out. Love never loses faith doesn't mean closing our eyes to evil. It means holding fast to the image of God in every person, especially those the world tries to erase. There comes a time when you find that the faith you've been keeping is now keeping you. Ooh. It means trusting in resurrection possibilities when everything appears to be a loss. And that kind of trust isn't easy. It's spiritual labor. And this is why I keep suggesting 3 practices. Number 1, prayerfulness and mindfulness. Number 2, intentionally experiencing nature. And number 3, being in face-to-face community with like-minded people. These practices empower us against unwelcome developments. You see, Jesus himself was arrested at night, dragged from his place of prayer by those claiming to protect the nation. Yet he trusted God enough to stay human in a moment designed to strip away his humanity. That's not naive trust. It's holy defiance. It's the courage to keep a tender heart in a brutal world. And love always hopes. Hope's dangerous. It's not optimism, it's resistance. Hope is what drives volunteers at 805 UndocuFund to answer crisis calls for immigrant neighbors whose futures hang in the balance. It's what keeps people like Michael and Linnea volunteering, getting out there. It's what keeps aid workers in Sudan showing up as millions face hunger and violence while headlines go silent. It's what makes teachers gather school supplies even when their own paychecks shrink. Hope keeps mothers walking their children to asylum hearings. Hope is what sends doctors in Gaza back into makeshift hospitals with dwindling supplies, operating on children without anesthesia. I've heard reports of the children screaming for hours, even days. I'm so sorry. And hope is not naive. It's a form of spiritual rebellion, a refusal to declare any situation beyond redemption. Hope is the soul's way of saying, the story ain't over. And there's love. Love endures through every circumstance. This perseverance is not just a polite waiting. It's not silence in the face of injustice. It's resistance in the language of faith. It is World Central Kitchen, setting up kitchens in Gaza, serving meals to families displaced by bombs, but also feeding displaced Israelis and the first responders risking their lives on both sides. That's not sentimentality. That's love with hands and feet. It's protesters still gathering on city streets like Portland and in small towns, singing, organizing, shaping public conscience, even when their voices are drowned out. It's neighbors still sharing meals, lawyers still filing briefs, organizers still handing out essentials in the wake of eviction or unrest. And it's also been the courageous people above the latest and the next flotilla, risking their freedom and sometimes their lives to carry aid and solidarity to Gaza, knowing the dangers of the blockade. These flotillas are intercepted, their cargo seized, their crews detained, some even reporting torture and mistreatment. And before we stop today, in case you haven't seen it, I will post a link in chat of the grandson of Nelson Mandela, Mandla Mandela, giving a press conference after he was abused, after their flotilla was captured. And yet they still keep coming, and he has promised that he will be back. Because perseverance means refusing to let borders, powers, or empires tell you who deserves dignity or who gets to eat. Perseverance is faith without giving up. It is faith with calluses. It's when you are an elected official who tells the truth, knowing you are outnumbered and that your colleagues are play actors in a deadly drama. You see, the empires of the world run on exhaustion. If they can't control you, they'll try to outlast you, wear you down, leave you too numb to care. For 500 years, the West and many nations in the global South have had a relationship rooted in colonialism and exploitation. This keeps the global majority economically and politically dependent in ways that continue today, even as the influence of the global South grows. And that's why Israel has been able to operate with impunity, exercising overwhelming military control over Gaza and attacking no fewer than 6 countries this year. It shows how every nation, including this one, can wield power without compassion. And may we never forget that our politicians forced all of us to fund this genocide, the logic of empire. However, some would argue that despite all the carnage, the empire is in the process of self-destruction. The Hebrew scriptures say pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And this is why the ways that you love matter so much. Love your family, your neighbors, your church, and love beyond borders, because when love keeps showing up, empires lose their grip. Love endures to prove one thing: your joy, your hope, your faith, they are in God alone. Love tells the truth. Love does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices when the truth wins out. Love is not silence. Love does not avoid confrontation. Love is truth's companion. To rejoice with the truth means naming what others deny and facing what others flee. Stay with me here. Raids aren't justice, they're terror. Border cages aren't policy, they're cruelty. Bombings that kill children aren't defense, they're desecration. Poverty isn't a moral failure, it's a failure of compassion. Love that refuses to speak isn't love, it's self-preservation. But truth without love is vengeance. The Spirit that's moving among us this moment calls us higher. Expose evil. Imagine healing. You see, love sees wounds and stays. It trusts in dignity. It hopes in redemption. It perseveres with vision. It rejoices in truth. Naivete, by contrast, pretends nothing happened. Trusts in power, hopes for comfort. It's strong enough, however, love is strong enough to face empire and tell empire, you will not win. This is the gospel of the imprisoned. Jesus was arrested, detained, mocked, tortured, executed, a state prisoner, but death didn't have the final word. Resurrection was God's appeal. 1 Peter 3 says, he was put to death in the body, but made alive in the spirit. After being made alive, he went and proclaimed freedom to the imprisoned. What this tells me is that it means every jail cell, every detention center, every refugee camp is already marked for a visitation by the Spirit of Christ. Love breaks in where regulations lock people out. Love walks into solitary confinement and whispers, you are not forgotten. Because if it fails, it wasn't love. So if it failed, if it folded under pressure, if it went silent when the bombs fell, if it ignored children left behind, it wasn't love. Maybe it was manners. Maybe it was fear dressed up as faith. But real love stays and stands. Real love keeps stretching itself across trauma and time and testifies, still here. It's spiritual defiance. Radical love isn't soft, it's strategic. It's how the oppressed don't become oppressors. It's how we fight. This is how we fight our battles. It's how we fight without becoming bitter. It's how we pray and protest with the same hands. It's how we trust without losing truth, hopes without closing its eyes, perseveres without becoming numb. This love feeds the hungry, raises bail, writes legislation, teaches classes, visits prisons, names the dead, births the future, say their names. Love says the world can be otherwise. The love that we have says the world can be something different, and I will make the world different. And finally, when the news cycle shifts, when people say it's hopeless, when cynicism seems wiser than compassion, remember the storm-tested witness that love never fails. Because the same Spirit that raised Jesus is still raising Chicago's South Shore, raising Gaza, raising our hearts. So wherever you are right now, I want you to say it with me. We trust without losing truth. Say it in your space right now. We hope without closing our eyes.
We hope without closing our eyes.
Say, we persevere without growing numb.
We persevere without.
Say, we love without apology. Yes. And when the world asks, how can you still believe? We answer, because love never fails, because we want to stay human. And when we hold on to our humanity, we don't pick and choose whom to love. We love the poor, the queer, the person with disabilities. We love all the people. And because you have stayed human, let me tell you, this is cosmic, this is transcendental, but let me tell you, because you have stayed human even when you don't say a word. You radiate divinity in all the spaces, wherever you go. Yeah. Thank you for paying attention these moments.
Yes, I see the claps. This is wow. Scott and I are leading the conversation this morning, and again, it's kind of hard to follow like that. That was amazing. I wish there was so many pieces to it, and I feel like every line could be a highlight. It's like I don't know how you come up with it, but it was truly an inspiring speech this morning, last week too. Um, I just obviously one of the major themes is weaved in all of it was love, and I was thinking in my mind at the end, like there was so much focus this week on the Nobel Peace Prize, right? And I was thinking who would get the Nobel Love Prize?
Hmm.
Like, and I think of all of those examples, and some of them were within this group, some of them were, you know, out of our country, within our country, but those are the true heroes right now. And it was such an uplifting talk that I know we all needed to hear. I needed to hear especially because I just wake up feeling so defeated so many days. Um, so thank you. I want to open it up. Or Scott, do you want to say something first?
Um, yeah, I'm going to give David a couple of hard questions. First of all, I love what you said today, David, of course, but here's the two questions. Um, how do we work with love and anger at the same time, or do we? And the other question is love ever pragmatic? Uh,
Well, I'm not sure I understand the second part, but you know what? Sometimes love gets really angry. You made me think of when some of you know, I used to teach in elementary school way back in the day, a private school here in Santa Barbara. And one of my students, when I met her, she was 8 years old, and we've remained friends. And now she's like 50. We've made friends, and she sometimes messages me, well, pretty at least once a week. And so she messaged me about a month ago to confess she lost it. She was in a store, and someone she's a Latina, by the way, and someone told her to go back where she came from. And she lost it. She lost it, and then she said, and he looked like he was paralyzed. And she didn't feel good about how she expressed herself. And she messaged me kind of like in the way someone would confess, I guess, to a priest or whatever. she, and I just said, wow, I, you know, mission accomplished. He was paralyzed. So I think love does that. I think love he comes close to it, if not losing it, comes close to it sometimes. Yeah.
well,
Now pragmatic. What do you mean, Scott?
does love compromise?
Does it compromise? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I know these are
Well,
two hard questions. I'm sorry, they're not fair either, but
yeah, I think they're important though. I mean,
uh,
I think in some ways it compromises because, I mean, I'm sure you and Barbara have to work things out. Diane and I do. There has to be compromise. But when it comes to our core, our morals, when it comes to our morals, I don't think there's enough compromise in the world. I mean, I said that wrongly. I think there's too much compromise in the world when it comes to our morals. Yeah. So I don't know if that
Good
touches
answers.
on. All right. Someone else might, but yeah.
Let's see.
Opening up to anyone else who has a question or would like to make a comment. Anyone have some examples of love from their life or that they saw this week or this month? I personally liked that the one thing I wrote down, the empire is in the process of self-destruction. I had to personally take delight in that quote. I don't think that's love, but
Well, it's love for the people who benefit from the end of empire. So
true.
for humans.
That is true.
Actually, it's love for the people who are benefiting from empire because they're living in illusion while they oppress.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost their
Uh,
souls. So
and yeah,
Linnea?
it was an interview by Greta, who had been taken captive by the IOF, and she just was. I had heard that she had been tortured, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but she didn't dwell on it. She just said things like, what I underwent was nothing compared with what they've been enduring in Gaza.
yeah,
And, she just wasn't hateful or, she was just clear. And it just seemed, I don't know what her faith is myself, but I was very impressed. I thought that was kind of a loving way to respond, just by being clear and not, you know, over dramatizing anything. I was just impressed.
yeah, Linnea, I was too.
There's
Yeah, she's
Michael's
in
hand. Yeah.
And my husband wants to add something.
Michael. Yeah.
One of you asked about examples of love you saw this week. Well, first of all, I want to call out with big claps the Cabrillo Economic Development Corporation here in Ventura County. And they do good stuff. And particularly, there's a couple of farm worker housing areas on both sides of us that they have initiated. They built it. They run the rentals and everything. And these two ladies, I'm not going to say their names, but they had, that's their job. But on the side there, they're putting together food pantries off the record. They're helping the ladies that come in. And so there's a lot of heroes that they have a job to do, but they're loving so much beyond the borders of their job. So I just want to call all of those people out. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for bringing that up. It's me, Rosie, and there are so many people behind the scenes, that are helping orchestrate all of these things, making sure that the families have, funds to pay the bills, formulas to feed the babies, diapers, the basic essentials that so many people take for granted on a daily basis, because just because, and yeah, I know I'm limited right now because of my situation. I'm still going through my physical therapy, occupational therapy and stuff, but I'm doing all that I can with different groups of people throughout the county. Um, I get upset with myself at times, because I can't be out there. But my kids will tell me, like, Mama, you have to give yourself grace because you're doing a lot already. And I'm not saying it just to, like to prop myself up by any means. I just want to acknowledge that there are so many people who are giving and doing so much with so little, so, so much. And so I think it's important that, yeah, in our hearts we acknowledge and in our prayers because prayer is powerful.
Thank you for doing what you do, Rosie.
I also wanted to say that I think Greta is just like a breath of fresh air. I saw her too, and I thought, like, God bless you, God bless you. And the Lord just continue to protect you. Keep on doing what you're doing. Because in my eyes, she's a mujercita chingona.
I
I'm
like,
interested in date. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Linnea.
I was just interested in Jacob's being on the spectrum. I'm not sure exactly what he meant by that, but
Yes, whether if it's the environmental activist we're talking about, and I don't know if it's the same Greta from Vogue as on this autism spectrum, and she credits having autism for her tenacity in her advocacy.
okay.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, that is the same Greta.
I wanted to explore a little bit when you said hold fast to the image of God in each person through, and then you mentioned the three ways to do that through prayer, community, and then nature, which kind of experiencing nature, which when you put that in the category of like prayer and community, I think we all know. But when you think about nature, it's like since the dawn of the first, life on Earth, right? There's been centuries and hundreds of billions of years of human life forms or humans that nature was their God, so to speak. And there's still so many religions today. And so like what I don't know, maybe David you could start, but I don't like when you say experience nature, like um how does that help us see the image of God in each person, I guess.
you, I hope this is a response. Something I've been thinking about just recently is, I mean, I've thought about it often, but now I'm thinking about it more intentionally so that I will write about it. And that is, and one of the things is, a friend of mine who used to be, a churchgoer in Santa Barbara, I'm pretty sure. she came, if you will, came out as an atheist, and she says, I've been atheist for a really long time, but I was ashamed. She was ashamed to say so until she had conversations with me, which is, interesting. I guess I converted her. I don't know, but she felt like I liberated her to come out. And I think that what it's saying to me is that we need more atheists when it comes to the God of the West, the God of imperialism, the God that who moves people in their faith to contact nature through recreational killing, to traveling to Africa and shooting antelope and so that they can have trophies. That's their engagement with nature. When the Africans themselves may kill something to survive, but this is a whole different mentality. So the faith of the global majority connects with nature in a different way. It's not about deforestation. It's not about, exploiting the waters. It's not about, the Dakota Access Pipeline, but it's the Ocheti Sakowin, the Sioux resisting the pipeline. So I hope I'm on track with what you're.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So embracing nature is respecting nature as our relative, as you would hear indigenous people say. To embracing nature as our relative, communicating with nature. One thing I did, and in the interest of time, maybe I should have done it. We have done this before once. Before I started speaking today, I was going to ask everybody to once again go outside, and take a deep breath and maybe hug a tree, touch a leaf, or something like that. That I wanted to set us up that way. I felt like, wow, then now I can communicate more freely if we are grounded. And when I say grounded, I don't mean, metaphorically. I mean actually experiencing the ground. Okay, so I didn't mean to give another sermon, but you Barbara, your question just brought that out of me. So I don't know. Is that in any way addressing that?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's
And that's
way more than just going out inside and enjoying nature. It is our faith, is our grounding.
yeah, and
Lots
that's
of hands up now.
important. That's important because I'm sorry I didn't raise my hand. I'm not close enough like that. But anyhow, it's important because you know what? I look around and I say, everything is the glory of God that has graced us with the ability, if we have vision, if we can hear, if we can smell, if we can touch, to experience the beauty of his creation, which is all. And in the Bible, it even says, right? In the word, it even says, if we don't praise God, the rocks will cry out in praise. And that to me, as a little girl, I remember that and thinking wow, how awesome is that? I had to say that.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think maybe the pathway to true faith and authentic spirituality might be atheism.
Amen.
Yeah, Clinton Julia's been waiting
Julia and
quite a
Clint.
bit.
Hey, I loved your the question, and immediately what came to mind is that everything that the human body needs in order to sustain itself is provided for us in nature, right? So imagine before there were supermarkets, before there were protein bars, before there was any our food came from the animals on the earth, right? Plants, vegetables, you know what I'm saying? It sustains us. So we rely, it's more than just a brother or a sister. We rely on the planet. We are, yeah, it's like what's the word? Cohabitat. You know, we're cohabitating. It's like the pulse. And then how about this? When Pastor Moore, you talked about grounding. You know that the earth has a negative charge. Humans have a positive charge. So if we go around positively charged without like touching the earth, it pents up all of this like negative, like positive, the opposite. It pents up all of this like, angst. And so the grounding is real. When you put your hand in on the earth, we balance each other out. You know what I'm saying? You stay there for 15, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden, everything in your body starts to go back to some state homeostasis, you know? Think about like volcanoes. They are the breath of the, you know what I'm saying? This is coming out of the planet. And then what comes out of the volcanoes creates new land. Everything is cyclical. So it's way more than just go out and enjoy the beautiful day. It's remember who you are. Remember that without the planet Earth, we wouldn't exist. And the planet Earth has the ability to eliminate all of us. You know what I'm saying? With one good storm, one good, wildfire. You don't know. So we need to more than respect it.
Thank you, Julia.
Yeah.
Jacob has his hand up. Jacob?
Hi, question for Pastor. What do you think of the representative in Texas who's a pastor who's um using religion to get people to become quote unquote more progressive? I don't know his name or if you've heard of him.
He's a pastor and he's an elected
He's
official.
in the Texas legislature.
I I think I might know who you're talking about, but I'm not sure. So I don't know if I can weigh in on that. But I think if it's the same person whose name I don't remember, I think he's probably endangering himself. I mean,
Yeah.
by living in Texas and you know, and yeah, trying to persuade people away from white evangelicalism,
Do
Christian
you think
nationalism.
Do you think any, do you think like people like him have a shot at changing this ship around, or do you think people have can't look for anybody to lead them away from white evangelicalism?
I think it's essential whether people, you know what? I think it's important for people to, I'm going to use a different word, to prophesy whether they see results or not in their own environment or their own lifetime. But they're doing this to save their own souls, first of all. And if we get outside of that, then I think we expose ourselves to the possibility of compromise, of being weakened, of being taken down. But if we always keep in view that I'm doing this because, I mean, it's love that motivates this for me, but I have to save my own soul. So it's a whole different self-preservation kind of thing. You know, it's not just some shallow self-preservation, but a very deep one. So I don't know if he's going to be successful. But I will say this, Jacob, and everybody, the people in office, particularly, or people who, are celebrities or people who have fame at any kind of level, who are saying the things that we want to hear, who are saying the things that we need to hear, if they have forfeited their moral authority by being silent about genocide, I think they have actually lessened their capacity to speak about anything else. So they can talk about, and they can talk about redistricting. They can talk about ICE. They can talk about the things we want them to talk about. But if they've been silent about genocide, they don't have the moral authority that we need. We need people. I mean, when I hear these debates between Democrats and Republicans, it doesn't have. I think the Democrats who are complaining. I love the fact that they want people to have health care. I love the fact that they're taking a stand in Congress against the Republican agenda, and because they believe that people should have health care. The problem is that they were silent on Gaza, so the public doesn't believe them. The public, they have reduced their capacity to influence our society by being silent on what matters most. So sorry about another soapbox, but thank you for asking that, Jacob.
The good box. Linnea.
Actually, I think what I was going to say has already been said pretty much. So, and Michael had his hand up first anyway. So,
oh, sorry. Michael, you're up.
You're muted.
Good. That was a bad joke. I just said to Barbara, I slipped Linnea pastry so she'd let me talk. But it's not really funny. I want to answer Barbara's question a little bit again, and I thank you for listening. I've talked about my Japanese maple tree before, and this probably sounds kind of goofy, and I'm sure all of you have similar nature in your lives, but we moved three of our trees here when we moved from our condo to where we live now. And one of them, particularly for over years, probably 10 years, this Japanese maple tree has just been something that David mentioned the word centering, and it's something that connects me to God. And I talk to it and I love it, and it responds. And I can touch its leaves and I can feel love from it. And it's crazy. I'm not one. Linnea was an English teacher and appreciates poetry. I'm kind of dense about poetry, but this Japanese maple tree, really, I see it. It's starting to drop its leaves right now. That's the cycle of life. It's a deciduous tree. And then very shortly, the little buds will start coming out, hundreds of the little buds, and you see the new crop of leaves coming out. And it's beautiful. It's like God's glory is coming back out. And then during the summer, it calls me to keep watering it, It depends on me too. And I love it. And it's a source of calming. I get upset pretty easily about stuff, especially in the last 4 years or so. So it's a calming, and it is a connection to the whole totality of life. And I just I want to say something too, and I think it's okay with Linnea what I'm going to say. If not, she can slap me down later, but not really. Um,
Going to be an emoji for that. Let's.
we when we moved, we live in some of you have been here before. We live in a manufactured home, senior citizen village kind of a place, and it once had a lake in the middle of it. A man-made little lake. It's now dry, but for years we would watch when the baby ducks would come, the mothers would come with their little baby ducks. So we had 13 at one time, but season after season. This one year, this little baby duck, and Linnea and I would go and sit and watch the birds in this. It was very peaceful. And this one little duck was so different. All of them would follow the mother, and this little duck would start zigzagging over toward us, and Linnea would talk to it. She named it Maverick because it didn't follow the mom. It came over and talked to her, and it had this zigzag pattern. And we're not making this up. They leave in the winter. I don't know where they go. If they're leaving Ventura, it must be a better place. But then they come back as adult ducks the next year. And this one, Maverick, he came back and he came over to her and he zigzagged. He zigzagged. It was Maverick, and we knew it. How, what a connection to God for this random duck to love my wife and to come back to us. And I'm not sure, Linnea, did it come back another year after
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
At least 2 years. Now the lake is dry and we don't have any birds like that anymore. And and then just one other thing about this whole thing with nature, how it's such an avenue to God. Linnea, like we try to walk out. We have agricultural fields on three sides of where we live. And that in itself, seeing all the row crops it's nourishing. But when we walk, Lynette is a hawk whisperer, and I'm not joking. Hawks, I wouldn't have believed this if I wasn't walking beside of her. Hawks come down and they circle Linnea. They do it over and over. I that's God to me. It's just beautiful. It's that whole unity of life. And so maybe Pastor sometime on after our Stevie Wonder, maybe we could have each person come on a Wednesday night to tell, because I know you all have your nature like this, but it's very centering and it just makes me realize it's not about us. We're just a little bit of a part of this whole scheme. So anyway, thanks. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I get the Hawks. I mean, I think we all
Mm.
want to circle Linnea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Linnea, at first you told me about that, and didn't you, how it happened with you?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I saw it. But
Yeah, that's all I was going to say was about how nature puts things in perspective. It makes you see well, Pastor David was talking about how nature helps us see the good in people. And what it does is it kind of levels things out and puts things in perspective. It's like being a hawk and looking down and seeing all the problems and the mess and being able to find peace and serenity in it. And I love Julia's descriptions of the
Mm.
magnetism. Yeah, I'd like to hear more stuff
Yeah.
like that. The
Mhm.
rationale, the scientific rationale behind it, because
Y- y-
yeah, I used to think all that stuff was just kind of new agey, but it's not. There's science behind it, but
mm.
the government isn't going to fund research on it. So, oh well, we know.
You know,
I
I
think,
was
yeah, go ahead,
I
Chris.
was sitting there this morning thinking this too. It'd be funny this topic came about loving and nature and grounding and everything like that. And I had this moment, like, so I have been, I've you noticed I was off camera being quiet and kind of, I was in a funky mood. I was in a funky mood because driving home yesterday, I see this big old, like, just obnoxious truck with a vote no on 50. fair elections. And I thought, the audacity, the fucking audacity. And I lost it. I'm like, fair elections? Oh my God. Hey, and I was just like, and it really, and I said, God bless them. But you know what? There's nothing fair about what's going on right now. Not even one bit of it. And we are going to do whatever we need to make it fair and get it back to where it needs to be. Don't, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I changed my address so I can vote. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to make sure this election I'm in it. The ability to make something happen like that. And then we have a new friend. And I say friend because I will never think of an animal like a pet ever again. So we had this little hummingbird that comes sees us right here. While we were out there, the first thing you seen is the hummingbird comes and it literally will come and sit right behind us. It'll come up right in front of Julia's face and my face and sit there for a few seconds, get a little drink of our little feeder, come over and sit down on the thing and just chill with us. It's not it's like
Was it
it's like
was it listening to my sermon
yes,
today?
it was, as a matter of fact, right now when we were out there. And that's what I'm
To go
saying.
tell
It's
all
like
the hummingbirds.
and it's like since we've moved here, this hummingbird now has a place, a little pond, like you were talking about, Michael. A safe place to come and sit. And you know what? We've contributed to nature. And that feels so good. You know what? We're interacting with nature as we should be. We're saying, hey there, how can I be your friend? You know what I mean? And that's just such a lovely feeling to have. And so even though I was in full of rage of that jackass that I'd seen with that obnoxious sign, I was able to come and talk to somebody that has some sense. Besides Julia, a hummingbird. You know what I mean? First Julia, then the hummingbird. But you know what I mean? But yeah, we're blessed that we get to think of this because that is God. You want to talk to God? Go out and listen to the nature around you because God's talking to us all the time.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Scott and Barbara, for moderating our conversation today. Thank you to the hummingbird. I hope it goes and tells all the other hummingbirds to be encouraged and to love one another. And let's have communion.
Right, everyone. This was a fun discussion. Before we do take, one of the first things that I thought as we were talking about connecting with nature is that the Bible narrative tells us that humans, the mortals, were created from the dust of the earth, and so that there it is. I mean, we are
Yeah.
connected. And what has been amazing for me is that during this respite in Gaza, and I hope it will be a permanent, of course. I mean, inhabitants are going back to where they came from. And I just, the resiliency of the Palestinians are just amazing. And for me, it's just another indicator that they're the indigenous inhabitants there, as opposed to the Euro white, I call them squatters, illegal squatters who come and bully around. Many of them, the civilians have already left, as we know. And yeah, that's the difference. I mean, oh my goodness. Some of the clips that you see, you want to cry with them, you know? They go back to their home. There's nothing left there, but they're still so grateful that they can be there. So that's one thing. The other thing is regarding Pastor David had talked about the anger and love. What brought to my mind was I follow some of the Lebanese um, journalists who are there and who are experiencing the constant bombings by the Zionist regime in the southern area. And you should read, I mean, when I read some of those posts, they are hot. I mean, they are hot. But then I could only have to be very honest because I'm not there. I am not experiencing this on a daily basis, but I sense because of their love of their country, of their people, of the vulnerable, uh, they're in their experience or the expression, sorry, the expression is coming out as anger. And so that just brought back those, um, that those experiences that I've come across with them. And they're beautiful people with voices I think we need to hear. And the third thing is that, and the last thing is, when I looked at the Greek text of love is this, love does this. When it comes to the verb, I know in English it's there. I mean, no doubt about it. It's all in present tense. Present tense means, the aspect as if you learn Greek language, you talk about aspect. It's continuous. It's imperfect. It continues. So it's a continual, it's an exaltation to continue to keep on keeping on. Hoping, keep on keeping on, being patient, keep on keeping on, being kind. And so with that, I wanted us to, as we approach the Lord's table, is as we partake of Christ's broken body, and his shed blood, may we embrace that exaltation and the courage to keep on keeping on. Some days are difficult. We're not going to lie. Some days are very discouraging. Some days are just to the point that we want to break. As Pastor David was talking about this one student, we are point of breaking. But may we always, as we take this, remind ourselves, keep on keeping on, as and each one of us, the incarnation of that word, if you will. So whatever you have prepared, let's take first the body of Christ broken for us. Let's take and eat, and then the blood of Christ shed for us. Let's all partake. Thank you, God. Let's keep on keeping on. Amen.
Thank you, Kenichi.
That was beautiful, Brother Kenichi. Oh my God, that was so